Elizabeth I, Theodora, Cleopatra. These are names of leading women that everybody knows. They all left a visible mark in history and will be forever remembered. Yet, how many stories about other prominent women have been lost forever? Today, thanks to advanced technologies and the tireless work of scientists and archaeologists, small fragments of these forgotten stories can be rediscovered. This is one of them. My name is Sarah. Welcome to the Mists of Time. Our story begins in what's now the southeast of modern-day Spain. Academics call the people living here the El Algar culture, but we have no idea how they identify themselves. The year is 1680 BC. Welcome to Bronze Age Europe. The hypnotic hum of cicadas is vibrating in the air, and the fragrant smell of pine resin is overwhelming. A rocky outcrop stands still like a sentinel near imposing woody mountains. Here and there, at the feet of this rocky hill, you can see humble farmsteads surrounded by dry stone walls. The golden barley fields are gleaming in the hot Mediterranean sun, but you can't hear the rhythmic sound of people using grinding stones. The frenetic domestic life of Bronze Age Europe seems like put on pause. Up there, on the hill where the high society lives, a funeral is taking place. Someone of great power and prestige has just died. Everybody is paying the last respects to the deceased person. She was in her late 20s, and before dying, she developed a chronic cough and lost a lot of weight. She died of what historically was known as consumption, but today we call this disease tuberculosis. The body has been carefully prepared for the funeral. The jewels that adorn the woman are all striking. Her hair has been fastened with silver spirals. She has earlobe tunnel plugs with big silver rings hanging from them. The woman also has a bracelet and a ring. In her hand, an oak coal has been placed. The old too is clad in silver. But the most spectacular piece of jewelry is her diadem. It's like a headband of polished silver with a disc going down between her eyes. When you addressed to this lady, you could see your own reflection, as her crown was like a mirror. It had to appear like shocking magic for the people at the time. Only 6 of such crowns have been found to date. This woman was not a commoner indeed. The total estimated value of the silver in her jewels was enough to pay 938 daily wages. Also, the weight of each piece was not random. It matched the shekel. This was a standardized weight used at the time in hustling and bustling Mesopotamia. It's a clear sign that this woman had international connections. We don't know what the funeral looked like. Was there a priest performing some rituals? Did someone say some words to the community? Were stories about this woman remembered? These people left no written record, and all of this has been lost in the mists of time. What we know for sure is that her body was laid in a fetal position inside a big jar put beneath the floor of a great hall. The room was plastered with clay and lime mortar, making it bright. This hall was the main area in the vast hilltop complex. It had 2 long benches for about 50 people, and in a corner there was a podium with a small hearth close to it. The adjacent rooms were used to store tools for grinding barley and to forge and sharpen metal tools and weapons. this wasn't a temple where people prayed the gods. It was something functional to the life of the community. Researchers have dubbed this room the Parliament, and it's believed that it's the earliest building of this kind ever built in Europe. Hundreds of buildings of this age have been dug, but this one is unique. We can only speculate on the actual purpose of this room. Did the people used to meet here for shared decision-making? Or did they used to sit on the benches to hear the ruler speaking from the podium? We can't answer these questions, but it's clear that this woman was strongly associated with this place, and that she had to be a public figure of some kind. The woman wasn't buried alone. In the big jar, a man in his 30s had been buried at an earlier date. His fineries are rich indeed, but they are humbler than the ones the woman had. He had a ring, 2 small gold earlobe tunnel plugs, and a copper dagger with silver rivets at his side. His bones have some wear that shows a life spent riding a horse. This makes him one of the earliest horse riders that we have evidence of. On his face, he had some kind of scar that had healed way before he had died. Maybe it was a wound sustained in battle? Thanks to DNA analysis, we know more about this remarkable couple. They weren't related, but they had a tie together who had died as an infant.
Who were these people? We know that the grave offerings from contemporary tombs were not as rich as theirs. Were they a king and queen of the Elargar people? To our modern eyes, that seems like the easiest answer, but not so fast. We have some very interesting evidence to analyze.
In this culture, women were considered adults at a much younger age than boys. We know this from the grave goods they were buried with. If a girl died at age 6, she was buried like a woman would have been. But boys got this honor only in their teens. In some cases, women's tombs were reopened generations later to receive other bodies. It's a sign that women had a huge ancestral prestige. And there's a very peculiar fact too. From recent research, it seems that women had a more meat-rich diet than men. This evidence casts a big shadow on conventional wisdom about the role of women in such a remote historical era. But wait a minute, that's not all. This is where everything starts to get very weird.
DNA analysis of Elargar bones has revealed a great mystery. 1,000 years before the burial we have just witnessed, local genetics radically changed. The maternally inherited part of the DNA remained the same, but the paternally one shows a complete turnover. It was linked to the people coming from the steppes between modern-day Russia and Ukraine. What happened here? The easiest answer to this mystery would be a sad one. Warriors from the steppes showed up here, killed the local men and took the women as their brides. If so, why there are no mass graves with signs of horrible wounds? Why there aren't evidence of burned villages and of sudden colonization?
There's actually a piece of evidence that may solve this mystery. Males buried at the citadel had many local relatives. Women didn't. They had husbands and kids, but otherwise it seems that they had no family. So what's going on here? It seems that families used to marry off their daughters as an alliance token with other groups. Maybe local leaders sent their daughters to ally with the newcomers from the steppes, and slowly but surely they integrated them into the already existing culture and political system.
But the real question is, what exactly was the political power of women? We don't know, and probably we won't. There's a historical example of a matrilineal society. Among the Haudenosaunee, better known as the Iroquois people, there was a decision-making group called the Clan Mothers. They could appoint or dismiss clan leaders, which made these ladies very powerful indeed. This is just a hypothesis. The evidence we have seen tells us only one thing. The women of El-Argar were very important. I believe that's enough to question a lot of conventional wisdom about this very tricky topic.
At El-Argar, only men had weapons, but they seemed to be placed on a lower hierarchical scale. Maybe it was women who made the decisions and men who enforced them? Or maybe there was some kind of shared system of power that we can't even imagine today. I hope one day we'll know more about it. At first glance, in history, only very few women took the helm of an entire society. But this very special tomb from Bronze Age Spain has shown that this may be a somehow limited point of view. Who knows how many other stories like this are now buried, just waiting to be discovered. What do you think was the role of women in this ancient society? I would like to hear your opinion. Thank you for watching. See you next time, in the mists of time.